was a nice hug.
All right, Twitch, welcome back to round 2 of the Old Cranky Man Team Trios featuring Modern. In the feature match area, we have Johnny Connor at the top of your screen playing Dimir Ring. So this is a blue-black control deck.
Okay.
You got Shieldred, of course.
Drown in the Watch.
I believe we're playing Murktide Regent. So big upgrade that kind of pushed this deck to where it needed to be was Preordain.
Oh, for sure.
What the classic Drago control deck really needed. It wasn't win conditions. It wasn't better removal, etc. Mm-hmm. What it really needed was a way to smooth out its draws. And Preordain does exactly that. So this deck going to look to exchange resources with the opponent, get to a point where it can assemble Shieldred plus the One Ring, and then win the game.
Yeah, I mean, once you have Shieldred and the One Ring, it's sort of like an inevitability. So I wanted to show you a card that could be sick in this deck from the new Lost Caverns.
Oh, okay. So this is the Ancient one. This is a 2-mana 8/8 with Descend 8. It can't attack or block unless there are 8 or more permanent cards in your graveyard. And then you pay 4 mana and draw a card, then discard a card. I mean...
And when you do, target player mills cards equal to that CMC.
It seems interesting. The fact that, you need 6 mana to actually do anything, and then what you do doesn't affect the board...
The fact that it requires permanence in your graveyard is really the tough part.
Not great.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we would want to play that, but it's definitely interesting.
As soon as I heard Dimir Ring, this card is popped into my mind. But yeah, it's the fact that it requires permanence in order to attack or block.
Yeah. Just spending 2 mana to not affect the board in Modern is not really where you want to be at all.
I think there could be a deck that utilizes the power and toughness from that card.
Sure, that makes sense. Whatever the deck you're doing it with doesn't care that it can't attack or block. It just wants that 8 power.
Have you heard of Varal's the Scar Strike?
Or I was thinking of Lavaz.
Yeah, exactly.
Dimir Infiltrator. Yeah. So players are going to take some mulligans here. At the bottom of your screen is Tom playing 4-color Living End.
On Furies now.
Yes. This deck picked up Fury.
That was always a confusing thing to me, why the Living End decks sort of didn't play Fury for a long time.
You need... what is the math? You need... I think it's...
8 red cards.
No, you need more than 8.
Well,
I think it's 7
plus Fury.
I think it's 17.
Is that what it is?
I think you need 17 cards to mathematically always have 2 of the same color in your hand.
And now we have Oliphants.
And so I believe they're at 16. So they're right there where they need to be. 16 is serviceable. So they have Fury, they have Oliphant.
Yep.
They have what are the other red cards that they're playing?
Oh lord. So
they have the Cascade spell.
Yeah. So the what is it? The green-red.
Yep.
Violent Outburst. Which is green and red.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Are they also playing Fire Ice now or something?
Yeah, I think they're either on Fire Ice Gone.
I don't think they're playing Fire Ice. Monstrous Carabid is a card they could play.
Okay. Yeah, that would be sick.
Yeah, maybe they are just playing 12 red cards.
This deck also plays an absurdly low land count. I think it's 12
lands. Yeah, plus the 8, the Oliphants and the
trolls. Or they're playing Ents. They're not playing trolls?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, they need that green mana.
They're Generose Ent.
Johnny, gonna crack a Misty Rainforest. That finds a Watery Grave.
Doing his thing. So Johnny's deck is going to be positioned well as long as he has the mana up to counter the Cascade spell.
Well, countering the Living End is pretty good. If Living End is just...
Fatal Push not doing a lot.
If Living End is just using all of its resources to put a bunch of creatures into its graveyard and not really doing anything other than that, countering the Living End will solve at least part of the problem.
Yeah. And there's only 3 Living Ends in the deck, traditionally.
Yep.
Because drawing it sucks.
Drawing more than one of it sucks. Drawing one is usually okay because you can pitch it to a Grief.
Johnny, I don't know if he knows what Tom is on.
I believe they do.
Oh, his teammate knew.
I could be wrong, but the conversation at the table there elicited to me that they both were aware.
Okay,
However,
cool.
I'm not entirely sure. So Tom is going to crack this Misty Rain for us. That's going to pick up a basic island.
Sort of one of the interesting things about team events like this is if you finish your game quickly, the team can do a quick scout and like watch other games and like see what's being played.
I don't know if it's still the case, but if your team is still playing matches, you're not allowed to get up from the table.
Correct. But if your team finishes, if your team finishes quickly, you can do like
your whole team.
Your whole team can do it, like break up, do a scout, come back.
Waker of the Wave. Is that a Waker of the Waves?
Waker of Waves. Yeah.
No, he's just 1 mana. That's the Serpent.
Oh, the one with hexproof.
Cycles for just 1.
Yeah.
The Striped Wyverinder.
Striped Wyverinder.
Swipe
Wyverinder.
Here's a Grief.
Okay.
So interesting. I didn't know that they were playing Striped Wyverinder anymore.
The card's great in Pauper.
Living in going to get pitched to a Grief here. Johnny's going to reveal.
I mean, it's just a huge body with hexproof.
Force of Negation, Shieldger's Edict, Murktide Regent, Swamp, the One Ring, and Consider.
Do we take the Force here? I think it depends what's in his hand.
So
if we have a Cascader, we take Force.
Our from Living End's perspective, the best card right now is Living End.
Right.
So we need to stop our opponent from being able to counter our Living End, and I believe that means taking the Force of Negation.
Yeah, don't take the Murktide.
We didn't come here to not play Living End.
That's the one game plan. Actually.
We came here to play Living End.
Notably, if he takes that now, if he gets to Living End, he will be able to get the Grief back and take the One Ring out of his opponent's hand. So that's sort of also something you can kind of count on.
Sure. Yeah, Johnny's still 2 turns away from having 4 mana. Force of Negation is going to get discarded. Grief is going to go away. Tom is going to pass back over. Here is a Consider.
Are we getting another Force? Are we getting Moto Bug? Because
discard your Force of Negation, immediately draw a replacement.
Yep. Dude, the amount of times that has happened to me is absurd.
If you play a format like Canadian Highlander, it can never happen to you.
It can't.
Here is an island. And Johnny will just pass back over to Tom. Tom is going to maybe crack this Misty Rainforest.
Yeah, I think we're doing it. I think we're getting a Triome, probably. Both players' life totals reasonably high. Not a lot of pressure from Tom immediately, but all he needs is 1 more mana and a Cascader. Okay, he's fetching
getting a shock.
He's shocking himself.
Well, I believe we'll be doing some cycling here. Put a few more creatures in the graveyard.
Oh, right. Yeah, makes
that
sense.
That way we can untap and cast our Living End.
Yeah, and not a lot of
cascade into our Living End.
Not a lot of pressure from Johnny being displayed, and so fetching for a shock, I think, totally reasonable. Like if there was pressure on board, you want to protect that life total a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Curator of Mystery is going to get cycled.
This is the one that I was thinking about.
There's a lot of options. They have this. They have Waker of Waves.
There's an Oliphant.
Yep. So Oliphant getting cycled here. That's probably going to go find a Stomping Grounds, maybe, or
do they play Triomes?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, they might. I could be wrong.
They just want the option to play 3 mana.
They want untapped lands.
Correct. Yeah.
And in spite of the deck being 4 colors, it's shock lands, land cyclers. It's not that hard to put something together. They want those untapped lands.
We don't fear Blood Moon here. Not in this house.
We came to lose to Blood Moon Shock in a Stomping Grounds, and is it time for Shardless Agent? Nope. It looks like it's going to be a, remind me what that card's called again, Violent Outburst.
Yeah, so we're going to do that EOT, and that way Johnny can't counter it for free.
Also, he wouldn't be able to use a Force of Negation. Yeah. Also, if Johnny chose to play that Murktide Regent in his hand, it would die to the Living End.
Yep.
3 mana, Violent Outburst.
And so if Johnny has...
Cascade Trigger, there is a Living End.
Force of Negation Living End. So I didn't realize that he was on Force also.
Yeah.
We're going to counter this. You don't...
And here is a counter spell. Living End is countered.
And he got to pump his creatures with the...
hit the creatures that he didn't have in play. Violent Outburst doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
Back on Tom's turn. Tom's got, it appears to be a tapped land. It's a breeding pool.
Mm-hmm. So, do we have another Violent Outburst or a Shardless Agent?
Here is
Shardless
a Shardless Agent.
So
Cascade Trigger.
So now this is the time for Johnny to have the double counter, to have the Drown in the Lock or...
He should have two unknown cards in hand, so he's still got the Murktide. He's still got Murktide, Sheoldred's Edict, the One Ring. So he has one unknown card in hand. But he doesn't have double blue, so it wouldn't be Counterspell.
Yeah.
It would have to be Mana Leak or something like that.
Or Drown in the Lock or some sort of more... Okay.
Yeah, Drown in the Lock would work too. And it looks like this Living End might be resolving.
Which is good for Tom. That was his third Living End.
Just a ton of creatures in play. Grief Trigger. Sheoldred's Edict is going to get cast in response.
So now we just lose the Sharpless Agent. Woof, that Grief getting to come back is rough.
Yeah.
Also, you'll notice that there is a Swamp Walk on Tom's side that is extremely relevant now.
I always think Street Wraith has flying, but it doesn't. It has Swamp Walk.
Yeah, we've got Double Ring Murktide. That was the second card.
Murktide Regent is going to go away.
We fear no ring, apparently.
Johnny's going to untap.
So we're just
Here's
ringing
4
here.
mana. The One Ring.
We got Trigger.
Johnny will gain protection from everything and immediately cash this in to draw a card.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Especially
he
with the
will
second
play
ring.
a Watery Grave and pass back over to Tom. Tom is going to untap.
Not going to attack, probably.
So the Living End deck doesn't have a way to stop the protection. So, for example, the Temur Rhinos deck, they have the Stomp side of Bone Crusher Giant, and then also they have Questing Beast out of the sideboard.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think Living End has access to any of that. Looks like the ring is going to get activated again.
Yeah.
So Johnny will draw 2 more cards.
Does he play Damnation?
I believe this deck does have Damnation.
Superb.
In it, yes.
So he knows he has an answer. We sort of have like a.
If not, I mean, he can just play another One Ring.
Absolutely, and I think that would be correct if he doesn't have an immediate answer because these creatures represent so much damage. It probably is lethal. So yeah, okay.
Here is a second copy of the One Ring. In response, a Force of Negation.
Johnny looking at his life total.
Let's see, so this is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
Yeah, it's lethal.
Yeah.
Johnny needs a counter or needs something.
All right, so the One Ring is going to get countered. That'll get exiled because it's a Force of Negation.
Because why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't Force of Negation exile the card counter?
Johnny will just pass back over to Tom. Tom's going to untap.
This might just be it. This is exactly what Living End wants to do.
He
had to fight through it.
That a targeted removal spell to kill the Oliphant will keep Johnny alive here.
Sure.
The Oliphant giving +2/+0 and trample to something else is a real problem.
He is going to lose 2 life on his upkeep, too.
Yes.
So he needs to...
So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and that's
still
it.
lethal.
So Tom is going to win game 1 here over Johnny. These players are going to sideboard, and we'll be right back with game 2. All right, welcome back. These players just finished sideboarding, taking a look at their 7-card hands. Stefan, tell me about what Tom did.
So Tom did the thing that I think Living End decks tend to do when they bring out cards, was he just trimmed some of the...
Sure, one of these.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then he brought in some interesting cards. He brought in a single copy of Mystical Dispute.
Okay.
Which is a great card to deal with forces.
Yep.
Brought in a couple copies of Force of Vigor, which is interesting.
Okay. That is interesting.
Yeah. Brought in 2 copies of Foundation Breaker and 2 copies of Ingot Chewer.
I know why he brought in Force of Vigor. It kills Chalice of the Void.
Oh, sure. Chalice on 0 messes up the plan.
Right.
Okay, so...
Ingot Chewer also. That kills Chalice as well.
So he brought in Foundation Breakers, Ingot Chewers, Force of Vigor, and Mystical Dispute. What about Johnny?
Johnny has taken out 4 copies of Fatal Push and a Shield's Edict, brought in 2 copies of Chalice, a Dress Down, and 2 copies of Thought Seize.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the Fatal Pushes and the Shield's Edict's not very good against a deck that looks to put 5-6 creatures into play at once. Also, I don't know if there's a card in Tom's deck that Fatal Push can kill.
And like you called it, Chalice on 0.
Yeah. Chalice is the main plan here, so Chalice on 0. And a Misty Rainforest from Johnny. Pass back over to Tom. Tom's going to take a draw step, and looks like he drew a copy of Living End.
We hate it.
The hand is not where you want that card.
No. I love decks that do... Otawara. Ooh.
Yeah, beautiful foil extended art Otawara there. He'll pass over to Johnny. Johnny's going to crack this Misty Rainforest.
And if anything else, Johnny knows that Tom brought in answers to this card.
Of course.
In his mind.
Yeah.
So all this is doing necessarily is buying him time.
Yeah, it forces him to have it.
Correct. And if he does have it, it's buying him time. It's letting him fill his hand up, get those rings out, buy turns, buy time. And a lot of the time, that's all that a control deck needs, is they just need to have answers.
Yeah, they just need a little time to develop their game plan. Sure. Watery Grave, followed up by an island. We'll pass over to Tom here. Tom, at the end of turn...
Cycling an Oliphant.
Oliphant's going to go find a mountain.
These land cyclers have been so good for the Living End decks, because like we talked about, they play so few lands, and these cards operate on 2 fronts in the deck, both fixing mana in a lot of ways, finding the lands out of your deck, and eventually becoming threats.
Yep.
It's everything you want it to be.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, kind of filling 3 roles there, to be honest.
Exactly.
Yeah. Steam Vince going to get shocked in from Tom.
The thing is, Johnny only needs 3 answers. He needs 3 counter spells, effectively. If we're running 3 copies,
yeah, because I don't know. I don't think Living In has a way to get back their Living Ends.
It has endurances in the sideboard.
Do they have endurances in the sideboard?
He didn't bring any.
He didn't bring any of them in, though. Okay.
No, I was looking at him sideboarding. I was like, I wonder if he's going to bring those in. He chose not to.
Yeah, I think the matchup is probably good enough for Tom that he doesn't need to push his advantage. Like I said, I think it's a good matchup for Tom.
Yeah.
Johnny's deck typically looking to deal, exchanging resources on a 1-for-1 basis.
Yeah.
And if Johnny's answers don't line up exactly with what Tom is doing, his sequencing, and Johnny doesn't have a way to counter or get rid of the Living In specifically, he's in trouble.
It's interesting that I have noticed that decks have been playing less and less surgical extractions.
I don't know that surgical extraction would be great here. Like you could get rid of one of the things out of the graveyard, but the problem, like I said, is you're dealing with things on a 1-for-1 basis. What the Dimir deck needs to be able to do is to deal with everything at the same time via Damnation. Or blue black notoriously not great at dealing with graveyard decks. Yeah. But something like Crypt Incursion.
Leyline of the Void would be good.
Right. You need to be able to get rid of the entire graveyard, not just one card.
Yeah, that's true.
Players just playing draw go here. Johnny going to play his 4th land and just pass back over to Tom.
This is beautiful for Johnny. He's got like I said, he is just drawing cards.
Yep.
There's nothing from Tom happening right now.
Yep. Tom needs one of those ways to destroy an artifact.
And he just doesn't have it in hand.
He needs a Force of Vigor. He needs a Ingot Chewer.
Yeah, this is the kind of opening that a control deck wants to see. No threats on board, developing your mana, having a way to stop your opponent from doing their game plan that cost him literal no mana.
Yep.
And Johnny, an experienced... Oh, there's the Ingot Chewer. Okay.
Jeremiah, I believe Johnny moved back to Des Moines.
So Ingot Chewer evoking, and we're... Oh my god!
Yes, the dress down. So yeah, when Johnny sideboarded it in, I had questioned whether or not it was good enough, but I hadn't considered this scenario right here.
Good.
So, yes, I believe it is good enough now. So unfortunately for him, Ingot Chewer is going to stay in play. However, it won't get to destroy an artifact on ETB.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the evoke sacrifice becomes part of the creature's text. So
Okay.
Dress Down takes away the sacrifice, but it also takes away its ability to do
it's already on the stack. So it loses that ability when it comes into play, the sacrifice ability. Let's call it an ability. But Johnny probably has ways to deal with it. Like,
Right. We can deal with things on a one-for-one basis. Here is a consider.
and it just replaces itself in your hand. Like, it didn't have to do anything.
Johnny going to surveil 1, choose to keep the card on top. He'll draw that card. And we will head back over to him. This Dress Down is going to the graveyard. Here's a draw for Johnny.
It's hard to not root for the control, like the hard control deck in this place. Oh, we have
second copy of Chalice of the Void.
So now if he flashes out or if he invokes an Ingot Chewer, he Chalice checked himself. So Chalice checking. If you're not familiar with this,
It's one of my favorite things to do when there's a Chalice in play.
Chalice checking is just if there's a trigger to be missed, then you have to see if your opponent misses the trigger.
Yep. Stomping Ground's going to come into play here.
Okay. So now Tom just getting in with a 3-2. Is it a 3-3?
I believe Ingot Chewer is a 3-2. I could be mistaken here. Orcish Bowmasters.
Flashing in the Bowmasters. So we've got.
Yep, so Tom's going to take one here, and then I would imagine the army token is going to be doing some blocking. Beautiful baby there.
Is that a baby orc?
It's Johnny's baby.
It's
Johnny going to take a draw step.
That's funny. I never considered making my kids tokens,
Your tokens.
before, but now I'm like,
Thoughtseize from Johnny.
Ooh, we love it.
Yeah, I like how this Thoughtseize ties in with the Bitter Blossom.
Yeah.
It's such an excellent callback to that standard format.
Ugh. What are we doing here?
I don't know that I've ever looked at that tattoo before. The jack-o'-lantern just caught my eye.
Yeah, my wife and I have matching tattoos
Beautiful.
of a bat.
Beautiful, I love it. And you have this nice new bug.
Yeah.
So can you tell me about this pattern? What is this?
It's a cross-stitch tattoo.
Okay, that's what I thought it was.
So Mary Rose is my tattoo artist, and she designed the series of cross-stitch tattoos. And
So is this Flash?
yeah, it's her design.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, she designed a bunch of these things, and my wife got a mushroom, and I got a bug. Which you can't see it on here, but it looks like the bug that Grist the Hunger Tide makes.
Yes.
And it's technically a weevil.
It's very cool.
But I love it.
Here is a Force of Vigor in response to this Thoughtseize. So I would imagine this Chalice of the Void is about to go away.
Yeah, unless he has. Are we hard casting it, or is he evoke?
No, he pitched a generous end to cast the Force of Vigor.
What's funny is, like, Blood Moon doesn't actually stop the deck necessarily. All Tom needs is a green source.
I don't know why we're talking about Blood Moon right now, but yes, you're correct.
I was just thinking about that. Like, the fact that he has all of these spells that he just casts for free by evoking them.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about, like, dying to Blood Moon is the thing that we came here to do, but at the same time, like, the deck doesn't necessarily die to Blood Moon.
No, not necessarily.
And there it is.
And then, once again, in response to the Thoughtseize, this Thoughtseize has been on the stack for a minute.
Yeah, it's...
we are going to cascade into a living end here. So, Tom doesn't have a ton in his graveyard.
No.
I believe it's actually just...
What is it? Is it the Wielder of Mysteries?
Well, he has the Oliphant that he cycled on
sure.
the first turn. And I'm not sure that he has anything else. I can't recall what else is in his
He's
graveyard.
going to lose the Ingot Chewer. And there's a counterspell.
Counterspell for that. So, no worries. We don't need to figure out what's in the graveyard because nothing is coming back.
We gave Johnny so much time to set up.
Yep.
And we're evoking a Force of Negation on the counterspell.
We're pitching a Force of Negation.
Yeah, pitching, not evoking.
Wow, what an exchange of resources.
That Thoughtseize still has not resolved.
These players have tons of cards in hand, apparently. Okay, so Livingston is going to resolve now. Oh, he does have several cards.
Oh,
in
he's
regular.
3.
Okay.
Oh, he has a striped river.
He's got Striped Wyvern, Curator of Mysteries, and Oliphant.
And now this Thoughtseize.
And now Thoughtseize is going to resolve and reveal
Take the other.
reveal a Living End. So Living End will go away. Johnny will lose 2, and that is gonna do it.
That was just lethal.
Yep.
Yep. Wow.
We will pass back over to Tom after Johnny loses 2 and goes to 14, and then it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Exactsies. What a
Well,
match.
he would be at 14 after the Thoughtseize
Yeah.
resolved, so it's 2 damage of overkill. But,
Yeah.
that's going to do it for round number 2. Love seeing Johnny, back here. Yeah, haven't seen him in years.
I've never seen him.
You. Well, I'm glad we got him on camera.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he wasn't able to take this one down. But reminder, this is a team event.
It is a team event.
So just because Johnny lost this game does not mean that his team loses the round. Stephen Locke, and I'm not sure who the third team member out there, but it looks like I can see Stephen in the background still battling it out here. So fingers crossed this won't be the last time we get to see Johnny today.
Oh, yeah, no.
Round 3 is coming up in just a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
See ya.